What's good, folks? It's Chi here, and I am here with my new and updated version of the offer estimate calculator. Some of you have this calculator already, and you're using it in your businesses and getting some good results, and that's good to know. I still use this thing daily to make offers on market properties and even on off market properties, but I don't do as much off market as I do on market, as many of you know. So uh, let's just kind of go through what this thing has to offer. Right now, you have the offer estimator section, which is the main section that I use. You just plug in your square footage, your rehab price per square foot. If you don't know that, there's a little rehab key down here that you can use to kind of show you what a cost might be. Now, it's not the same in every market. Things are going to fluctuate, and you might have a buyer who pays a lot less than what's noted here. So, use that with a grain of salt. But I kind of know from my area, you may want to talk to your buyers to get an idea about that. But you have a drop down menu to see if you're paying how much price per square foot. So maybe your average is around $40 per square foot. So you just put 40 in there. Then you have your after repair value, what you would put there. Once you've comped the property, you would put your ARV there. You also have an ARV estimator over here, which can help you if you have numerous properties, can kind of get you an average based on the price per square foot and all that other stuff. So that is helpful. I don't use that as much. I just kind of use the highest and best property to kind of go from there and get an idea and do an estimate in my head and just do it because I don't like to waste time. But some people, they want to be a little bit more precise. So if you need something like that, it is there. So why are there's this max offer section? There's this ARV minus repairs. Well, a lot of people are using the 75% of ARV minus repairs. So when you've stuck your information in here, you kind of get your rehab cost calculation, and that will then come down here and give you your negative repair price here. Also, you plug in your assignment fee. So everything is basically plugged up in here. This will calculate that stuff. I think it calculates everything minus the extra costs. Whatever reason I didn't put that in here, and maybe on a next update we'll add that there. But it will put your high ticket items, which are down here. Your roof. You estimate $5,000 for a roof. Now that's just an estimate. Some roofs are going to cost more than that. Some may cost less, probably not. But it's just an estimate. Water heater, it's just an estimate. Electric is pretty expensive. So, these are estimates. I don't use these as much. Sometimes I'll plug in a roof, but you can always just put in a cost, what you know here, and just give a negative number. So if it's going to be like 15,000 of extra cost, you would stick that there, and it'll automatically deduct it, right? So that's how that works. You have your quick offer section. So if you want to make offers based on the Zillow estimates and realtor estimates, PropWire estimates, you can plug that stuff in here, and it'll basically spit out a number down here. The percent of ARV, this is just for me knowing what properties are selling for. So if I'm doing a percent of ARV, right, I want to know what I'm looking at. Several properties that have closed in a specific neighborhood, right? So if I know that in the last 6 months there's been like 4 properties that have closed, I would put those prices in here just to get a percent of ARV on each of them, and then just give myself an average. That's just something to know. So if I know the ARV is 425 for this example, and then the property sold for 265, well, that buyer bought it for 62% of the ARV. So that gives me an idea of what people are paying. So if you just want to do a percent of ARV offer, you can do that. And you can do that with this ARV minus repairs. You just don't get your number from here. You would get your number from here instead. So knowing that person paid 62% of ARV, right, that means I would want to purchased that property at 217, give or take, right? So if they paid, this number is different from this number doesn't have anything to do with this up here. So we're assuming that this ARV is 350. So let's assume this one is 350 as well, right? Just so we have an apples to apples comparison. And so if they paid 65, that's say they paid 227, right? 227,500. And that's what they ended up paying. Well, that's 65% of ARV. We'd probably want to lock it up for that price, 62% of ARV, and that would get us a nice assignment fee, if that makes sense, right? So I'm looking at this number as being the number that I would pick it up, and we found that out here. Now, another thing that I have added is this percent of ARV tab at the bottom. So because I'm making so many offers and I'm keeping tabs of all these properties that I've made offers on, I can come here, and every time a property closes that I didn't close on, but I know what it sold for, right? I can plug those numbers in here. So this property, say it's 123 Main Drive. That's not a real address. It was in 27612 area code. It sold for 403. It needed some work. That's 67% of ARV because I plugged these numbers in, right? So if the ARV was 650, right, that would be 62% of ARV. So it basically will give you a percentage of ARV based on the numbers that you put in here. I realize I didn't color code this, but that's how it works. You're just putting in your ARV and the sold. These are basically the only two numbers that you're gonna to add things in and add your addresses here. Now, what's the reason for having this? This is something that you would add to over time. Now, the reason why I do this is so over time you'd have hundreds of these properties, right? And if you're doing stuff in the same market, then you can use a filter and say I only want to filter for 27612, right? And so only those properties would show up. I would assumably I'd have a lot more of these, right? And so we know all these properties are closing in the 60% range, 62, 63, 64. So I know I need to have buyers I know that buyers are purchasing in the 65, let's say a 65% of ARV range. That means I need to lock it up a little bit lower than that, right? So you have all this data. It's just something for you to collect data. So I'd have all these properties in here that can tell me what properties are going for in a specific zip code. And that's very helpful over time. Why are they not showing up here now? I did something. Let's get this filter off here. Oh, I just needed to scroll up. But yeah, so when you have a ton of these, and in mine I have like hundreds of these things, so when you have so many of them, you have real data for a particular zip code, and that data basically tells you, hey, in this zip code things are going for around this percent of ARV. It's really helpful, especially if you're dealing with multiple markets. You can kind of do quick offers without even having to use this offer calculator. If you wanted to, you can just go, hey, I'm just going to do a percent of the ARV. I know that buyers are buying at 65% of ARV in this area. I'm just going to lock it up at 62%. I'm going to make an offer at 62%, right? So, very helpful. I also have a loan to value calculator that I don't use, but a friend of mine did use it, so I put it in there for him, and it's there. That you have this other drop down menu, you don't want to use that, so pay no attention to that. But what else do we have here? We have lots. If you're buying lots, you can put a new build, the price of a new build in this particular area. Say the price of a new build is $850,000, right? So that's, lots are usually about 20% of ARV in this particular area. They're going for about 20% of ARV. Minus the cost to tear down. If you have a tear down here, if you don't, you can just set it at 0. And that kind of gives you your offer if your assignment fee is here. Again, the assignment fee can be plugged in with a negative number in this assignment fee section. Right? Same as up here. You plug your assignment fee with a negative number. Anything that says use a negative number, you need to put a negative number in there. Yeah, so that's the lots. Sometimes you get data that doesn't give you a square footage or it doesn't give you acres, and you need to translate that. I don't want to have to do any math, so I know if I find something that's 0.59 acres, that's 25,700 square foot, right? And so if I found a property and it was 25,700 square foot, and I don't know what that is in acres, I just put it in here and it's 0.59, right? So it gives you the answer in green, you just plug it in the white. And price per square foot calculator, if you know a property sold for this price, well, what was the price per square foot? Well, the square footage is still pulling from up here. So that is the calculator. If you don't have this calculator, you probably want it. It's a great calculator. I've had a lot of calculators, and basically I designed this one based on all the great things I found in other calculators that I use, but I wanted more, so I learned how to make my own, and this is what I came up with. So if you're interested in a good offer estimating calculator, this one is here. I do updates from time to time. I just did one, that's why I'm doing this video. So if you like what you see, you want to check out the calculator, check out the link in the description or in the comments, and check it out.